If you had asked Layla Morgan last year where she'd be today, she would have said, planning my dream wedding. She would have been wrong. Because today she stood on her parents' porch with trembling hands and a white envelope, one she was never supposed to see. The Morgan home in Willow Crest had always been picture perfect, like something out of a lifestyle magazine. Magnolia trees, white shutters, hydrangeas trimmed like they had contracts. But beneath the manicured hedges and Sunday brunches, there had always been something off. An undercurrent. A subtle favoritism that was easy to deny, until it wasn't. Layla had always felt like the placeholder daughter, the quiet, dependable one. And her sister Tessa, fiery, bold, magnetic, was the son the entire Morgan family revolved around. When Tessa walked into a room, the air shifted. Layla had learned long ago how to shrink in the corners of that gravity. But even Layla hadn't expected what she found in that locked drawer. It was a week ago. She'd been at her parents' place to help prep for her own engagement party, a modest, candle-lit affair they were hosting in their backyard. Her fiancé, Marcus, was sweet, steady, and had pulled Layla out of the long shadow she'd lived in for years. While searching for spare candles in her father's office, the drawer stuck. Not locked, just jammed. She jiggled it loose. Inside was a stack of cards, receipts, and an envelope labeled simply, "For Tessa." Curiosity whispered. She opened it. The letter was dated 6 months ago, her father's handwriting. "We've transferred the down payment to your new condo. Consider it a fresh start, away from all the tension. Don't worry about Layla, we'll handle her. She's always been the understanding one." Layla didn't finish reading. Her stomach lurched. She recognized the address. Same building Marcus had suggested they consider together, before her mother had insisted they keep costs low and stay realistic. The next few days were a blur. Layla smiled through party planning, stayed quiet during family group texts, and said nothing when Tessa showed up with a diamond tennis bracelet their mom just had lying around. She took mental notes, memorized words, timelines. And now, on the day of her engagement party, she stood outside, letter in hand, unsure which version of herself was going to walk through that door. The daughter who always smiled through betrayal, or the woman who finally said, "Enough." She tucked the letter into her clutch and opened the door. Inside, the backyard sparkled. Twinkle lights, soft jazz, the scent of roasted rosemary chicken. Guests mingled with champagne flutes. Her father laughed too loudly at something. Tessa was already taking selfies near the custom floral arch, her back arched, lips pursed. Layla stepped forward in a simple ivory dress. Not a scene stealer, not attention-grabbing. Until tonight. Because tonight, she wasn't going to be silent. She greeted guests, accepted compliments, and waited until the toast. That was always the moment her father loved. A speech, a spotlight, a celebration of how tightly knit the Morgans were. He raised his glass, cleared his throat, and Layla gently placed her clutch on the table. Inside, the letter waited. So did everything that was about to unravel. Layla barely tasted her champagne. Every smile she returned felt like glass against skin, thin, brittle, and bound to break. Tessa was in full peacock mode now, working the crowd, throwing glances over her shoulder at Marcus, pretending not to notice the way he gravitated toward Layla, quiet and steady like always. But even Marcus hadn't read the letter. She hadn't told him, not yet. Her father stood at the head of the long, white-clothed table. Guests leaned in, their faces warm and expectant under the golden backyard lights. "Before we eat," he said, lifting his glass, "I'd like to say a few words." Of course you would. Layla pressed her hands together under the table, fingers threading, clenching. Her mother gave her a little nod from across the linen runner, misreading her silence as nerves. Her father's speech started like they always did, nostalgic, performative, just enough humility to keep the spotlight glowing. "When Layla was born," he said, voice lifting over the clink of silverware, "we knew right away she'd be our rock. Reliable, grounded, always thoughtful." Layla glanced toward the flickering votives. "But Tessa," he continued, chuckling, Tessa was our firecracker, fearless, wild at heart, so different yet somehow complementary. There it was, always the same dynamic. Leila as the steady floor, Tessa as the chandelier. And now, he said, smiling down at her, we're just so proud to see our Leila finding her forever partner. Marcus, you're a lucky man. Though I dare say, we're all lucky to have Leila in our lives. Applause rippled. Leila smiled softly, bit her lip. She rose. Thank you, Dad, she said. That was kind. She lifted her own glass. Marcus looked up at her, sensing something low and coiling. I'd like to say something too, she said. Tessa blinked. Her mother's hand froze halfway to her wine glass. Leila turned to the crowd. You all know me as the quiet one, she said gently, scanning their faces. The peaceful one. And I've always taken pride in being that person. But being quiet doesn't mean I don't see things, or that I don't feel them. A hush fell over the table. Even the jazz in the background seemed to pull back. She reached down, pulled out the envelope. I found something last week, she continued. A letter from my father to my sister. It wasn't meant for me, but I read it. Her father's face drained. Her mother's shoulders stiffened. Tessa narrowed her eyes. Leila held the letter delicately between her fingers. It said that the down payment for a luxury condo was given to Tessa, a place Marcus and I had once considered before we were told it was too much. It also said not to worry about me, that I've always been the understanding one. Gasps flickered through the air like sparks catching dry leaves. I didn't bring this up to start a fight, she said calmly, but to stop pretending. To stop letting someone else write the story of what I'm supposed to accept in silence. Her voice didn't shake. It didn't need to. I'm done being the background music to someone else's celebration. She placed the letter gently on the table beside her untouched glass, then turned and walked. Past Tessa's frozen glare, past her father's stunned face, past her mother's rising denial, and into the house. Behind her, silence bloomed like a bruise. The door clicked shut behind her. Leila leaned against the kitchen counter, the buzz of conversation outside replaced by the low hum of the fridge. Her hands trembled, but she felt lighter, almost like the moment after a deep exhale, after years of holding her breath. She heard movement behind her, soft footsteps, a pause. It was Marcus. He didn't speak right away, just stood by the threshold watching her, eyes filled with something between admiration and confusion. That letter, he said quietly. It's real? She nodded. I found it last week. I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't know if I was just being me again, overthinking. Marcus stepped closer. You're not overthinking. That was deliberate. They gave Tessa what we were told we couldn't have. Her eyes welled with tears. I kept trying to tell myself maybe they didn't mean it that way. Maybe they were just helping her out. But the wording, don't worry about Leila, like I'm some chore they've managed. He pulled her into a hug, his hand on the back of her head. You don't have to keep protecting people who hurt you. Leila let herself melt into the warmth of his arms. Just for a moment. The back door opened and the storm arrived. Tessa. She marched in like the eye of a hurricane, phone clutched in her hand, white dress slightly askew, cheeks flushed. What the hell was that? She hissed. You humiliated Dad, and Mom, and me. Leila slowly pulled away from Marcus. I told the truth, she said, something none of you ever seem to do when it comes to me. You made it sound like we're villains, Tessa spat. You don't know what's going on. That condo, Dad offered it because I was going through something. You don't even ask before exploding? I wasn't offered the chance to ask, Leila said, calm but cold. Because no one told me anything. Like always. And you knew what that place meant to Marcus and me. Tessa crossed her arms. I didn't choose what Mom and Dad did. You always act like I'm the one pulling the strings. No, Leila replied, voice dropping. You just enjoy the benefits. The silence stretched. Marcus looked between them. Tessa, Did you know about the down payment before Leila saw the letter? Tessa didn't answer. She didn't have to. Her eyes darted to the side, jaw tight. Leila felt her chest tighten, but it wasn't pain anymore. It was clarity. It's not just the condo, she said. It's everything. The secret dinners, the expensive gifts, the excuses. I've been the one cleaning up the messes, covering the silences, while you float. I'm not going to apologize for being loved, Tessa said. Leila's voice was barely above a whisper. It's not love when it needs to be hidden. Outside, the music restarted. People murmured. Someone laughed, probably unaware of the storm that had just broken inside. Leila turned toward the hallway. Where are you going? Tessa asked. To change, she said, because I'm not staying for the rest of this party. Tessa scoffed. Running away? Again? No, Leila said, pausing at the base of the stairs. Just finally choosing not to stay somewhere I'm not seen. And with that, she climbed the stairs, not with anger, but with resolve. Her spine straighter than it had ever felt. This wasn't an ending. This was the middle of something she hadn't dared begin until now. Leila changed out of her ivory dress with deliberate slowness, folding each layer like it was part of an old life she was ready to shelve. She sat on the edge of her childhood bed in jeans and a navy sweater, staring at the string lights she'd never taken down. The room was untouched by time. High school awards, dusty books, a corkboard of memories that now looked like someone else's scrapbook. She heard the muted noise of her parents' voices downstairs. A door opening, another closing, then a knock, 3 short taps. She knew who it was before the door creaked open. Her mother stepped in. Elaine Morgan had always been pristine, hair perfect, pearls always present, her voice never rising above a polite tone. But now she looked tired, not undone, but unraveling at the edges. Can we talk? She asked. Leila nodded once, just enough. Her mother closed the door gently and sat beside her, not too close. I didn't know you found the letter, she said. Not until tonight. Leila turned slightly. But you knew about it. A pause. A sigh. Yes. There it was. The truth, at last. It hit harder than the silence ever had. I need to ask you something, Leila said. And I want the truth, not your version, not what makes things easier. Elaine hesitated, then gave the smallest nod. Why her? Leila asked. Why does Tessa get everything? The condo, the jewelry, the secret savings account Dad set up in her name. I know about that too, by the way. Why is she always the one? Her mother's eyes shimmered, but she didn't blink. Because we worry about her, she said softly. She's impulsive. She makes mistakes. You've always been reliable. Leila's throat tightened. So I get punished for being stable? Elaine shook her head. It's not punishment. We just never thought you needed as much. That's not love, Leila whispered. That's convenience. Her mother reached out, hesitated, then placed her hand over Leila's. We never meant to make you feel second. But you did. The silence that followed was worse than shouting. It was full of every unspoken moment Leila had buried since she was old enough to notice the imbalance. Then the door opened again. Her father stood there. Shoulders slumped, eyes clouded. We're having a family conversation, Elaine said firmly. I think we need to, he replied and stepped in. Tessa followed behind him. Begrudgingly. Her eyes were rimmed in red, makeup smudged. She looked furious, but also exposed. They all sat. 4 people who had lived in the same house for decades, but had never really been in the same room. I read the letter, Elaine said to her husband, and she's right. I never thought it would come to this, he muttered. It wasn't about choosing her. It was about trying to fix something without making it worse. You made it worse, Leila said plainly. You created 2 different families under one roof, one that got everything, and one that was told to be grateful for whatever was left. Tessa flinched. No one's asking for handouts, Leila added. I've made my own way. Marcus and I have built everything from scratch, But I'm done pretending that all of this, she gestured around them, was fair. Her father rubbed his forehead. I don't know how to fix it. You don't, Leila said. Not with money, not with gifts. The only way this gets better is if you stop hiding what you do. Own it, apologize for it, and change it. Her voice didn't shake. Tessa looked up slowly. I didn't ask for the condo, she said. I just took it when it was offered. That's exactly the problem, Leila said. You always take, and I've always been the one who makes peace with it. A pause. I'm not doing that anymore. No one spoke. For the first time in years, there was no script, no performance, just the messy, exposed middle of the truth. And in that silence, Leila stood. I'm leaving tonight, she said. Marcus is waiting. We'll figure out the rest on our own. Elaine blinked. What about the wedding? Leila turned, her voice steady and sharp. There might still be one, but it won't look anything like this. The sky was bruised purple when Leila stepped outside, suitcase in hand. Marcus waited by the car, trunk already open, the glow of the street lamp haloing his silhouette. She didn't cry, not when she left the kitchen where she learned to braid Tessa's hair, not when her mother asked again if they could talk more in the morning, and not even when her father said quietly, "Drive safe," like that somehow made up for years of being seen as a safety net instead of a daughter. She placed the suitcase in the trunk and exhaled. Marcus took her hand, warm and sure. You okay? He asked. I'm more than okay, she said. I feel awake. They drove in silence for a while. Not awkward silence, just the kind that settles in after something big, something tectonic. The trees blurred past. Willow Crest receded in the rear view. Leila didn't look back. They spent the night at Marcus's apartment. It was small and a little cluttered, records stacked against the wall, a crooked frame he kept meaning to fix. But it felt real, honest, hers even. The next morning, she made coffee barefoot, wearing one of his shirts. Her phone buzzed with messages. Mom, 7:13 a.m. We're proud of you. Come home when you're ready. Tessa, 7:20 a.m. You didn't have to go nuclear. But I guess I had it coming. Dad, 7:45 a.m. If you want to talk, I'm ready to listen. Leila stared at the screen for a long time, thumb hovering. She didn't reply. Not yet. Instead, she opened her laptop. Something had been tugging at her all night, an idea, half-formed, waiting for air. She'd been keeping journals since she was 11, notebooks stacked in closets, under beds, pages full of things she never said out loud, about her parents, her sister, about love and silence and what it meant to disappear in plain sight. She clicked open a blank document, titled it, The Daughter They Forgot Was Watching. And she wrote, hour after hour. Between sips of coffee and bites of toast, Marcus brought her without speaking. He kissed her forehead once and said, Keep going, then left for work. She wrote about the favor economy of family, about what it meant to be the responsible one, about how love, when distributed unevenly, doesn't feel like love at all. By afternoon, her fingers ached, her heart didn't. She hit save, and then, just because she could, she sent it to a friend at a popular women's magazine who'd once told her, If you ever want to tell your story, I'll help you share it. She attached the letter from her father, just the image, no context, and clicked send. That night, she got a reply. Subject, this is powerful. Are you ready for this to go wide? She stared at it for a long time. Her old self might have hesitated. But now, she smiled, because she wasn't asking for space anymore. She was taking it. By the end of the week, Leila's story had gone viral. The article, The Daughter They Forgot Was Watching, was published with only her first name. But the details, the emotional weight, the letter, every piece resonated. It was raw, truthful, and universally familiar in ways she hadn't expected. Thousands of women wrote in the comments, This is my story. I was the Leila, too. I finally feel seen. She didn't name her parents or Tessa. She didn't have to. The story stood on its own. Her mother called first, not with rage, but with tears. "I didn't know you carried all that," she whispered. "You always seemed so steady." "That's the problem," Leila said gently. "I was never allowed not to be." Her mother didn't defend. She didn't redirect. For once, she just listened. Her father sent flowers. No card. Just white tulips, the kind he used to clip from the backyard and place in her room before dance recitals, back when she still believed they noticed her. Tessa texted one line. "You told the truth. I deserved it. Then, and I'm sorry." Leila didn't reply right away. She needed space, not to punish them, but to let the truth settle, to breathe without the weight of needing to be okay for everyone else. 3 weeks later, she stood in a bookstore downtown, invited to read an excerpt at a live panel on family dynamics and hidden emotional labor. Her voice didn't waver once. Afterward, a young woman approached her, eyes glassy, clutching a copy of the magazine. "Your story changed something in me," she said. "It made me leave a family dinner where I was being torn down, and I didn't apologize for it." Leila smiled. "Then it did what I hoped." The wedding was small, not the backyard extravaganza her mother had planned. No twinkle lights or speeches. Just 20 people in a converted art gallery, warm music humming from a live cello, and Marcus standing at the altar with a smile like a steady flame. When Leila walked down the aisle, she felt seen. Fully, finally. Her mother cried softly in the front row. Her father stood when she passed, hands folded tight, as if holding back the urge to say all the things he never had. Tessa sat quietly at the end of the aisle, no longer center stage, but still present, with a look that said she was learning how to step back. When Leila said "I do," she wasn't just marrying Marcus, she was marrying herself, to a new life, one that didn't ask her to disappear so others could shine. After the ceremony, she and Marcus slipped away to a quiet corner of the gallery. The sun spilled through high windows, brushing golden over their joined hands. "You know," Marcus said, tracing her knuckle, "I never thought a quiet person could shake so many things." Leila smiled. They just had to start listening. And for the first time in her life, they finally were.